Okay, let's go.
Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Actually, I'm going to follow Gary Muirhead's instructions. I'm holding onto my hat. Apparently, it's quite blowy out there. Wouldn't know. Haven't set foot outside the door. But good morning to you, one and all. Hope you're all fit and well after yesterday's fiasco of a show. Most of them are fiasco, but yesterday in particular, I've this morning checked the broadcast speed, and we are currently firing on all cylinders. At least for now, anyway. So please pray to the gods of the internet we can make it all the way through today's show without interruption. Very quickly say a few good mornings. I'm going to say good morning to Peter McKenna, to Dan Cullen, to Mark Whiting, to Ken Hatcher, to Gary Muirhead, to Jim Turner, and to anybody else that knows me or something. Now, I promised yesterday that we would have a prize gift on the show today, and we do. There you are. It is an Intermat notepad and pen. For your chance to possibly win this very fine notebook and pen that I hold all the way back from Paris, I just need you to answer one very, very simple question. Just need you to type into the chat the month in which Intermat 2024 will take place. What month will Intermat 2024 take place? Type it in now in the chat, and we'll get to the draw at the end. I am going to add a banner across the bottom of the screen. I forgot to do it. I'm going to do it in a second while we're doing something else. So yes, if you would like to do that, please do that. Just very quickly, if you're watching over on Instagram, you can't enter. Well, you can't enter from Instagram. Our software does not allow it. So if you'd like to enter for your chance to win a very fine recycled paper Intermat notebook and pen, you need to go over to YouTube, or YouTube is probably easiest. Go to YouTube and search for Demolition News, and you can enter over there. And I hope you do. I hope you do that. Yes. Just one other very quick thing. The third installment of my series of short stories, which is called The Time Traveling Demolition Man, dropped this morning. We did the first one on Monday, second one on Tuesday, third one today. Means there's two more to come, one tomorrow and one on Friday. And you can read today's story when I get to it. Let me see. There we are. You can read that in the chat. I will, just a very quick reminder, I will be releasing the book as a book, the 5 stories all together in a book form for all those on our WhatsApp group. So don't worry, if you're part of our WhatsApp group, there's no need for you to jump ship. Now, just before we get into the chat, or into the show, should I say, I'm going to say good morning to Neil Edwards. Neil has sent me some stats this morning that so far this year, 5 billion quid's worth of new work, and I think it's new work and tenders for the month. So all of the signs that I'm seeing are things are not looking good, and there you are. The facts as they are written suggest that actually things aren't too bad at all. Neil, thank you very much indeed for the update on that. And there's Gary Muirhead saying good morning, Neil, as well. So yes, good to start with some good news for once. So speaking of starting, shall we do just that? Ken Hatcher says to Neil, how much work is there in Wales? Neil, I'll leave you to answer that in just a second. While you're doing that, I'm going to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Yes, just bear with me. I think I've managed to update that. Just let me have a very quick look. Type the month in which Intermat 2024 will take place for your chance to win. We now have a live ticker. Sorry for having forgotten that. So worried about the speed of the internet connection that I completely forgot that bit. Oh dear. Wales, not good, says Neil Edwards. And Ken Hatter actually said, how much work in Wales? Gary Muirhead says, roughly 10 pence worth. And unfortunately, I think he could well be right. Although there is still time in January 2024. Hey, Wales could come good as you never know. I will come back to the chat in just a second, but let's get on, shall we? It is Wednesday, the 24th of January. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, Caterpillar and the Power of Possible. There's a new name in excavator blade control. We're in cab with case wheel loaders, getting to grips with the Graptor, and Sennebogen rises to the sustainability challenge. Plus, as I've already said, we have a prize up for grabs today. Intermat notebook, Intermat pen, up for grabs. Just do what it says down the bottom of the screen, thereabouts. Just please do that. So did I do the question of the day? I do the question of the day. Did I do the question of the day? I did not. Did I? Yes, I did. Oh dear, it's going to be another one of those days. Yes, we're going to get to all of that in just a second. But first, we're going to peer back through the mist of time to see what was happening on this day in history. On this day, in 1848, James Marshall found gold in them there hills at a place called Sutter's Mill. It was a discovery that sparked the California gold rush. Yes, it really did. In 1900, this goes to show how the modern mind works as opposed to how the not so modern mind worked. In 1908, Robert Baden-Powell published his book, Scouting for Boys, which in this day and age would be a very questionable title for a book. However, it was the inspiration for the Scout movement. Yeah, Scouting for Boys. I'll leave you to insert your own jokes there. In 1935, the American Kruger Brewing Company launched Kruger's Cream Ale. Not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, aside from the fact it was the world's first canned beer. Yes, they've been responsible. They sparked the revolution that made home parties what they are today. In 1984, Apple unveiled its revolutionary Macintosh personal computer. Kind of prefer the modern version of it. In 2011, Adele released her second album, which was called 21, because guess what? She was 21. And on this day in 2023, and this has been repeated today, bizarrely, on this day in 2023, the doomsday clock was reset to 90 seconds until midnight, the closest it's ever been to the, well, end of the world, basically. All of that back in 2023. 2023 was, of course, due to the war in Ukraine. But now we've got stirred into the mix conflict with Yemen and conflict with Gaza, and you'd think we'd know better by now, wouldn't you? Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day. Yeah, our question of the day is quite simply this. Have you ever collected anything? And if so, what have you collected? Personally, I've never done stamps or anything like that. I did have a record collection back in the day, before streaming existed. I still have the records, but I don't actually buy vinyl very much these days. I do still occasionally because my daughter has got a record deck, as they say. Yeah, I guess the only thing I actually collect these days is Stephen King books. I've got at least one copy of everything he's ever published. I am a completist, I have to say. In fact, I have actually got some books where I've got multiple copies, and not all of them are in English, even though I struggle to even speak English. Yes, I have them in. I've got one in. I've definitely got one in German, and I've got another one in Spanish. And the one in Spanish I picked up in a second-hand shop in Barbados, because that's what you do, isn't it? No intention of reading it. Just like to have it, really. But what about you? What, if anything, have you ever collected? And Dan, I'm going to put this one up straight away. Dan Cohen, hats. No great surprise. That's why he's called Dan the Hat Man. Good morning to Mick Norton, who's just joined us as well. Thank you very much indeed. Glenn Johnston's just joined us as well, and Peter McKenna's just said, "Put your teeth back in." If I had some teeth to put back in, I would certainly do that. Yeah, I'm bumbling over my words today a little bit. All it takes is for me to make one cock up early doors on one of these shows, and that's it. I'm thrown through the ringer for the rest of the day. Right, everyone, let's crack on, shall we? And we need a little bit of this first. Going to bring you up to date. We've got 4 entries for our competition so far, so you've got a 1 in 4 chance of winning at the moment. If you'd like to be in with the chance of winning those exclusive Intermat goodies, then you please do what it says at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, there was a time just a few years ago when my diary started each new year with the addition of the big shows that were taking place in the coming 12 months, whether that was Conexpo, Bauma, Intermat, Samota, SED, Hillhead, or Plantworks latterly. But I've already added to that list another show for next year, and that show is the Consumer Electronics Show over in Las Vegas. Good morning to Joe Brown Construction Company over in the States, Philadelphia, if I remember rightly. Yes, going to CES. Not because I love tech, which I do, but because CES is gradually being invaded by some of the biggest and most advanced companies in the construction equipment business. This year, Bobcat was there, Hyundai was there, Komatsu was there, Kubota was there. And so was the company that really started this embracing of CES itself. And that company was Caterpillar.
Welcome to the Caterpillar booth at CES 2024. We're here talking about the power of possible.
Well, we're really excited to be here at CES, and there's just a lot of buzz in the air.
Great opportunity for Caterpillar to meet other partners, see what is being done.
I think people are really interested to see what a company like Caterpillar is doing at a show like this.
We want to try and show that we can be a one-stop shop for everything. We're not just about the iron. We can do the iron, we can do the data, we can help you manage everything about your site. We can help understand a whole plethora of technologies and bring them all together.
We're looking at kind of the electrical infrastructure and systems that enable electrification of the industries we serve, such as construction and mining here today. So we have everything from power generation solutions, renewable power, to our diesel gensets that actually can use alternative fuels, to energy storage, and we have battery electric machines from our construction side of the business, such as our 301.9 mini excavator, and our underground mining loader, which is kind of the star of the show, our R1700 XE.
It's completely excited knowing that we're on the forefront of the energy transition and be able to help people with that transition between clean emissions and clean energy.
Everyone's working through this energy transition and have different goals, and figuring out what is the right solution for them is the most exciting. It's going to create new opportunities, things we've never imagined, for serving customers in ways we've never even thought of.
But what we're trying to do is show them that we are actually more of a technology company than a lot of people expect. So we're doing electrification, we're venturing into that space, we have digital solutions here, and we're also doing a fair amount of recruiting as well.
We have a tremendous opportunity being a global company with the depth and breadth of the product lines that we have to offer a variety of different solutions, and we're looking for people to help us build those solutions.
It's just a really exciting time at Caterpillar, and we're just excited to showcase all the work that we're doing on this journey of electrification.
It's a great show. It's a great way to understand what's happening in the world, and I think Caterpillar has a really important platform and a strong message to share.
For us, being here this year was really talking about the power of the possible and how we can integrate all these solutions and technologies together to help our customers solve tomorrow's problem today. It's great to be part of such an awesome team, and we had a great show.
I need to get the trip funded, of course, but I actually now think it could be worth myself and Fred making the journey to Vegas in January next year, purely to see the latest tech in the field of construction equipment. Now, a couple of things. First of all, Graham Footy Williams has just asked, and I realise that banner is remarkably small across the bottom of the screen, even if you're not dyslexic, and it's even worse if you're actually watching a mobile device. So, Footy, especially for you, our question of the day is this. In what month is the Intermat 2024 exhibition taking place? Just type the right answer into the chat and you'll be entered into the competition. And I also want to say a very quick one to our friends over in Philadelphia, Joe Brown Construction. Am I speaking to actual Joe Brown himself, or are you one of the company? I'd love to know. If it is Joe Brown himself, as Jimi Hendrix once said, "Hey Joe," if it's not, let us know. Much nicer to be on first name terms, I always think. Now, we need a little bit of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yes, looks like we've got hangers on. Should I go to Las Vegas next year? There's the missus. And me, I'll come to Vegas. She makes it so much more expensive. No, it's only the flight, but then the shopping begins. Oh God! I can tell you, where are we? We are now up to 5 entries. We should be at 6, but Mick Norton's got the date or the month wrong. So Mick, sort it out. And also, we did have a question from Gary Muirhead, who says, who is at the head of Caterpillar worldwide? Is it just one man or woman? Obviously, there is a board because it's a vast, multi-billion-pound company. But the main man is actually a guy called Jim Umpleby. He is the chairman of the board and the CEO. Yes, he is. So drop him a line. Tell him that he needs to invite Mark Anthony of the Breakfast Show over to Caterpillar in America, and I'll swing by CES free of charge while I'm there. You never know. It might just work. Right, now, where were we? Yes, I know where we were. We were here, weren't we? For many mini excavator... let me try that again. For many mini excavator operators, the machine's blade is first and foremost a stabilizer, and it's a grading tool a distant second. But properly equipped and properly used, that blade can add a whole additional layer of versatility and productivity, as you're about to see.
The DMS excavator blade control enables automated grading with a standard excavator and a rotary laser. Let's explore how this laser technology works and how the ordinary excavator blade can create surfaces sloped in 2 directions. To achieve the correct blade height and maintain it, we use the rotary laser to establish the target height. Depending on the chosen rotary laser, you can create horizontal surfaces or slopes in 1 or 2 directions. The laser receiver mounted on the excavator blade reads the laser beam and calculates the height difference to the target. This information is transmitted wirelessly to the excavator. The excavator blade control receives this signal and adjusts the blade's position using hydraulics to automatically reach the target height. As you drive the excavator, you produce a leveled surface. The blade follows the laser beam, and the slope in the direction of travel is correct at once. Initially, the cross slope is random, but will be correct by one of the 2 following methods. Method 1 is suitable for larger surfaces. Start at an easily accessible surface edge and level 2 side-by-side lanes. This creates an oblong surface with the correct slope, but random cross slope. Rotate the excavator 90 degrees so the previous slope becomes the cross slope. Continue leveling additional lanes from the initial surface, inheriting the correct cross slope. This results in a surface correctly sloped in both directions. Method 2 is ideal for narrow areas where changing the driving direction isn't feasible. Begin by leveling the first lane. As before, this lane has the correct slope in the direction of travel. Inspect this lane in profile. Even if the cross slope is random, there's one line where the laser receiver is mounted on the excavator blade on which the height of the generated area is correct. Level another lane adjacent to the first one. Then, run a third lane overlapping the first 2. As the excavator chains rest on the previously created surface, they act as fixed points. Position the excavator so the chains align with the previous laser receiver location, ensuring the correct cross slope. The resulting surface has the correct slope in both directions. Continue working from this area and the excavator will assume the proper cross slope. In summary, the DMS excavator blade control is an economical extension for your excavator, allowing precise leveling.
I want to say a very quick good morning to David Hearn. Well, I'm guessing it's David Hearn over at Instagram. It could be one of the Hearn family, but good morning to LDH Attachments over on Instagram. Thank you very much indeed for that, Dan. I must admit, I was quite impressed with that. Very informative. Totally agree. Ain't technology brilliant? Sounds like the Far Show. Technology, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for that. Now, just let me go back one stage. Andy Darvell, morning Andy, says that mini digger with the auto blade looks awesome. I really want to have a go on a Kobelco Blade Runner. It's a damn fine machine. Jim Turner says that's the machine I'm itching to have a shift on too. And Andy says, love the little carry wings on the blade. Push so much more. Yeah, I think people are liking that. I didn't do a hot or not, but I think we could all agree that that is hot. Now, speaking of stuff, bottom of the screen. I'm going to say it out loud just for those that can't see it. If you would like to win Intermat notebook, Intermat pen, just type into the chat the month in which Intermat takes place, the Intermat exhibition in Paris in a couple of months' time, literally a couple of months' time. So please type into the chat the name of the month in which it's going to take place. I can tell you now, you're now at a 1 in 7 chance of winning. So if you haven't entered already, I suggest you do so very, very soon. While you're thinking about doing that, I'm going to play a little bit of this. Okay, those of you that are currently watching from within the cab of a machine, I'd like you to do something for me. I'd like you to take a look around. Now, be honest. You don't need to tell me, but do you have enough room? Is your seat nice and comfortable? Does the heating have you all warm and toasty, despite the fact that it's blowing holy out there? Is everything you need within easy reach? Now, if you answered yes to all of those questions, please just go about your day. I don't need to bother you any further. But if you answered no to any of those questions, you might be about to experience what I can only describe as cab envy.
Hi everybody, I'm Riccardo Balma, Product Manager for Compact Wheel Loaders for Europe. I would like to introduce you to the new Evolution range of case compact wheel loaders. The operator compartment will contain some of the most interesting novelties brought by the Evolution series. It is equipped with a brand new and larger color display operated with an encoder that will make all the main machine information and parameters clearly available to the driver. While the right console integrates a membrane keypad in all similar to the one already featured by Case large wheel loaders that will definitely make the use of the different functionalities and settings more intuitive and user-friendly.
Envious? I'm going to go back to the chat because Jim Turner says, in answer to my questions, his feet are apparently off the window. Yeah, I have to say, Gary, that did occur to me. It's one of those things where it's almost like the bench has been set too high. The benchmark has been set too high. The Opera Cab from Hydromec is so good that I think we could have about another decade of people trying to catch up. But I have to say, that was a very nice cab, nonetheless. Chris Ford nearly failed to muster. Blimey, mate. What have you been doing? What have you been up to? But thank you for joining us. Now, earlier on, we talked about the fact that my wife wanted to come to Vegas with me. And I will come back to this at the end of the show. But this is how girl maths work, right? So in order for us to go to, if I was to take my wife to Las Vegas, you're probably looking at about 500 quid for a flight. Now, I already have a hotel room, so, not a big deal. But while I'm out slogging my guts around the CES exhibition, she will be out pounding the streets, spending all of my hard-earned cash. And she says, there'd be January sales. I'm saving you money. Yeah. That's how girl maths work. Let's have a look. Jim Turner says, JCB X Series machines have a nice cab. Not enough leg room. You're quite a lanky fellow, though, Jim, right? I seem to remember you saying. And the footrests are too close to the pedals. JCB, if you're listening, there's a man called Jim Turner. There's sort of Nottinghamish. He'd like a word. Might help you improve your machines. You never know. Right, let's have a bit of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
I misjudged Jim Turner. He says he's only 6'1". I'm 5'10", standing slightly on tiptoes. You're a giant compared to me. Now, where were we? I know where we were. I like to tell myself that I know the audience of this show. Although I've just proved that I had Jim Turner down as about 6'4". I was slightly wrong. I've met many of you face to face, so I've also been secretly interrogating you with our question of the day for nearly 4 years now. But every once in a while, you lot take me by surprise. The last time we featured the product I'm about to show you, I was expecting it to be greeted with derision from everyone based here in the UK. Instead, you all seem to like it, which is precisely why I'm bringing it back up again. It's been upgraded, and we're featuring again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and plant lovers across the world, meet the Graptor from AMI Attachments.
For material handling and demolition tools, nothing has changed the world like Graptor. And now, AMI Attachments is proud to present the next level in productivity, strength, and performance. Introducing the strongest, most powerful Graptor yet. Graptor, powered by RamCam. The next generation of integrated thumb bucket that puts a whole new reality on grip. Complete load control across the Graptor's entire rotation is now more powerful thanks to RamCam, the revolutionary new enclosed drivetrain, designed exclusively by AMI Attachments. The new Graptor powered by RamCam increases crushing force, maximizes gripping strength, and is easier than ever to service, even in the field. Now, using standard hydraulic cylinders, the RamCam drivetrain efficiently transfers energy through a splined camshaft and into the Graptor's thumb for a tight grip on every load. And with RamCam completely enclosed, all components are fully protected all the time. Providing greater torque, RamCam delivers up to 84% more crushing force than the previous Graptor, for more ripping, biting, and demolishing that's reliable and durable. RamCam also maximizes the Graptor's gripping strength for greater confidence and safety when handling heavy and awkward objects. True to its legend, the new Graptor continues to conceal all the mechanical components for ultimate protection from weather, loose material, and damaging debris. A must-have for hassle-free productivity on any job site. Routine maintenance is simple, using the grease bank that lubricates all the joints without needing direct access. If service is required, commonly sourced hydraulic cylinders can be replaced in the field for fast recovery. Now, using Hardock's 500 Tough, the entire shell of the bucket is designed for longer wear life and is backed by AMI Attachments' 2-year limited warranty. Made for excavators from 24,000 to 160,000 pounds, The Graptor powered by Ramcam is the ideal tool for material handling and offers models specifically designed for extreme service demolition, rock screening, and raking. Contact AMI Attachments to find the Graptor that's best for you. Greater crushing force, increased gripping strength, and fully enclosed. The all-new Graptor, powered by Ramcam. A new reality on grip.
Couple of things. Andy Delville says, yes, I'm sold. I want one. I don't blame you. I'm going to say good morning to Frank D'Angelo. I'm going to say good morning. It's actually good evening to Frank D'Angelo, Diacon Demo. She's joined us over on Instagram. Morning, Frank. Morning, Frank. Evening, Frank. Whatever. Frank. What was I going to say? Yes. AMI attachments. Not sure if that is actually available here in the UK, but once again, I just assumed that everyone would say thumbs. No, not for me. And that, yeah, there we are. People are liking the thumbs. And imagine, I think it was Andy Delville said, where is he? Could that Graptor advert be any more American? Imagine this show if I could deliver it in the way that that guy did it. Good morning, everyone. It's great. The Breakthrough Show, powered by Ramcam. I can't pull it off. Just not up to it. We've got just one more video to play for you this fine morning, and it's a short one. When I come back, you will have just 37 seconds in which to enter today's prize draw. This is your last chance. This is your last chance to win Intermat notebook, Intermat pen. All you need to do, as it says across the bottom of the screen, but I'll say it out loud for the final time, quickly type into the chat the month in which Intermat 2024 is scheduled to take place. Type it in the chat. We'll draw the winner after this. After this, and then after the film that comes. You get the idea. I'll be back in a sec.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
Here in 2024, the construction equipment industry faces many, many core challenges. What fuel will we use in the future? How will we minimize the environmental impact of equipment while it's being made and while it's being used as well? Well, those fine folks at Sennebogen have risen to the challenge, as you're about to see. And as I say, after this, we'll be doing the prize draw. So if you're going to enter, you're on borrowed time. Yes, it's an exhibition called IFAT, which is more or less what I say to myself when I look in the mirror every morning. IFAT, yes. I'm going to go over to the chat very quickly. Let's have a look. Footy isn't entering our competition. Very kind of you to do so. He's taken a step back because he wants neither pen nor notebook. But we are about to find out who has won. How many entries do we end up with? We've got 9, which is not bad. I would like to have had double figures ideally, but it is what it is. So let me throw this up onto the stage there. Right, are we ready? In that case, 3, 2, 1, here goes the draw. Unbelievable. He's gone back to work. He won our last competition, and he's won again. Ken Hatcher, you've got yourself a note. Well, I don't even know if he's going to know about this. In fact, the last time he got a prize from me, he didn't even know he'd won it. But Ken Hatcher has won yet again. Apologies for everybody else, but there you are. He just seems to have the Midas touch, does our Ken? Good thing is, I don't even need to look up his address. I've got it right here on the desk in front of me. So I will be sending that off to him a bit later today. I'm off down. I'm going to take my wife for a cup of coffee in a second and pop by the post office at the same time. So yes, Ken, congratulations. You are our winner. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. And there's been lots and lots of chat, which I'm always delighted. Stay safe, look after yourself, your family, friends, and your colleagues as well. But if you have the time and the inclination, do please stick around for the Craic. We'll be back right after this final word from our key show sponsor. I'm not even bothering to mess about with the dark glasses today. The chat is too small and my eyes are too tired. Let's have some music, shall we? Lovely. Nothing like a bit of monkey trap first thing in the morning. It's been an odd couple of days, isn't it? Do you remember yesterday we were talking about the fact that there was a camel beauty contest in Saudi Arabia where 12 were disqualified for having Botoxed the lips of their camels? And today we have a book called Scouting for Boys, which apparently was inspirational. Good Lord. Right, okay. Chris Ford rightly says, "Will Ken buy me a Euro Millions ticket?" Yeah, you're behind me in the queue for that one, Chris. Right, I'm going to go back to the very beginning. In fact, I'm going to go back beyond the beginning, even before we started the show today. Peter McKenna was on. He was on over on YouTube. We have an additional facility over on YouTube, and I don't know if anybody has ever actually seen it. Because YouTube is a video-first platform, and we're kind of hijacking Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and what have you. You can actually put a trailer up for a video or a live stream video before it even starts. And Peter McKenna spotted it this morning. It's actually been there for a good 6 months. But because our biggest audience now actually is over on Instagram, but our second biggest audience is on Facebook, and YouTube tends to be sort of a distant third or thereabouts. But thank you. I'm glad you liked the trailer. Love it, he says. Thank you very much indeed. Dan Cullum, second off the mark, and says, good morning. Good morning to you, Dan. And thank you again. I had my nose in my West Ham annual just first thing this morning. Should have been working. Decided it was on my desk. What can I do? Have to have a look, don't you? Jim Turner's here as well. Good morning, Mr. Turner. All 6'1" and beard of you. There is Peter McKenna saying, good morning, Mandangle, which I think is aimed at Dan Collins. At least I hope it is. Mark Whiting's here, as is our perpetual, I say, competition winner, Mr. Ken Hatcher. Yes, he's done it again. I don't know how he does it. It's almost like the system has a favoritism, but I'm sure it doesn't. There is Peter McKenna in his own guise. He's now over on Facebook. Good morning. Good morning to Mr. Muirhead as well, who, in addition to usually being our resident quizmaster, and Gary, I am fast running out of my own questions, so I'll be getting to yours very, very soon. He says, good morning, Mark. Good morning, everyone. It's a little bit windy out there. Hold on to your hats. I'm not going to do the whole show like that, but yes, it is mighty blow out there. Okay, I've just realised my music is not looping. That brings it back. That's the wrong one. That's my intro music. Let's have that one instead. Confusion reigns, as so often the case. Let's have a look. Is that a Wacker jumper you're wearing? Well, let me show you. It is. It is. And very nice it is too, I have to say. Very comfy, nice and big and baggy, and nice and warm, which is probably the most important bit. There is all our entries. I can obviously confirm that Intermat 2024 is taking place in Paris. There you are. There's all the entries. It actually starts on Wednesday, the 24th of April. I think I'm going to be there. The Monday, the Tuesday, I'm not entirely sure. I can't actually remember, but we're going to be there ahead of time as well. Gary Muirhead, another correct entry. There is Footy saying good morning, bro. Neil Edwards. We go back to Neil Edwards. I don't actually have it to hand because I've switched that bit of the system off. But yeah, £5 billion worth of new work and tenders recorded so far this month. So where are we in the month? We are at the 24th of January. So we've got best part of a week, but we are going to lose a couple of days. So we've got a good few more days to get even more on the list as well, which kind of belies the fact, everything I'm seeing and everything I'm hearing is pointing to the fact that all is not well in the world of demolition and construction. And yet there is work aplenty. I guess the first question is, at what value is that work coming through? Obviously, the work itself is going to be a good 3 or 4 months away before we actually get shovels in the ground. And if some of that is tender, it could be even longer than that. But it is good to see there is some positivity out there, even if it's just statistic positivity, if you take my meaning. Yes, you can grab the... that was not deliberate. It's not called the time traveling. I'm not trying to be all American. It is the time traveling with a G on the end. Demolition Man Part 3 is out now. If you're, as I say, if you're part of our WhatsApp group, I've already created the book that will package all of the stories up. I'll be sending that out probably on Monday next week. This is how dull my life is. I spent about 3 hours last night watching tutorials on how to use the Apple Reminders app. It's all part of a continuation of this. You know how I've gone all analog and stuff. I'm determined not to forget stuff, but I also want to be able to access it wherever I am. So these tend to go into a box, and when I'm in the office, that's where I find them. But that's not necessarily going to help me if I'm out and about and have a bit of time to spend to actually do some writing. So I'm using the Apple Reminders app, and I can tell you there's a good couple of stories coming up in there. I'll keep you posted on that. Footy doesn't want the notebook. Being a dyslexic like what he is, I can understand that, fully understand. We will be having some more prize draws in the not too distant future. In actual fact, I tell you what, I'll flag one up now. While I was at the pre-Intermat press days, I was given this. Not as it might appear a model. It's a PC 360, but it's not a model. I'll show you what it is. There you see. I'm not causing any harm by unboxing it because it has no real intrinsic value. There you are. You see that? It's not a model though. Yes. That is the Komatsu Intermat press pack on there. I'll leave it on there. If you want to have a look at that, you can do that. You can see from whence I grabbed my words about Komatsu. But also you could delete everything that's on there and use it as a memory stick yourselves. If you'd like to win that, tune in tomorrow. That'll be up for grabs. I like the gift that keeps on giving. Let's have a look. Gary Muirhead saying good morning to Neil Edwards and Ken Hatcher with the same question as always: how much work in Wales? And Gary Muirhead answers before Neil could even get to it. 10 pence worth. And that's a good month. There was our question of the day. Have you ever collected anything? As I say, you can't see it. There's a whole heap of Stephen King books back there. That is my collectible. But does anybody else have anything else? There's Ken Hatch, Neil Edwards. Oh dear, Wales, not good. I'm sure he means in terms of workload as opposed to as a country. But Ken Hatcher says probably right. A couple more entries there. Let's have a look. Footy says how much work in Devon. I think we may have lost Neil by that point. Let's have a look. Peter McKenna says, question of the day: as a kid, I collected key rings, stamps, and bruises. As an adult, I have a collection of over 100 model trucks. I think we need to see a bit of a video on that, Peter. So get your camera out. Let's have a look. Our moustached marauder is back on the show again. He was on the show on Instagram yesterday, and I couldn't understand. Well, I don't know him. Although if he's got a moustache, he's okay with me. But thank you for coming back. I clearly didn't do enough to offend yesterday. I'll try harder. Dan Cullen says Lynch is getting higher in Wales. As if my various rundowns of this day in history was not enough, Peter McKenna offers his own. The death of Reverend William Webb Ellis, the alleged creator of rugby football, whilst a pupil at rugby school. Yes, and I know squat I know squat about rugby, but I do know there is a Webb Ellis Trophy, and I'm sure that is for precisely the reason. Question of the day. Ken Hatcher collects coins. He is a regular at the Royal Mint down in Welsh Wales, and that is why. There you are. Carrying your head. Collects all odd socks. I don't know when I started, but I seem to have a drawer full of them. I have a theory. I'm fairly sure washing machines, modern washing machines, are not powered by electricity. They basically are fueled by recently consumed socks, because I have exactly the same thing. And now, bearing in mind, I share the house with two other men. That sounds awful. They're both my sons, Ollie and Fred. Now, we're all, all grown-ups. So, there is a pool of socks here in the house. And to make sure that I get my own, I've done a couple of things. I've been out and bought very leery coloured ones, so oranges and pinks and stuff like that, because I thought that might put them off. But I ended up with odd socks. I then started to buy more expensive ones and threatened them with physical violence if they were to use them. I still ended up with odd socks. And I have a particular pawn shop. I don't know if anybody else has got one of these shops near them. There is a shop called Uniqlo. Fairly sure it's Japanese. Uniqlo, Uniqlo. And they do some really, really nice socks. So I tend to go for Uniqlo socks. Still get odd ones. I have got more... Gary, maybe you and I should sit together with our sock collection. You never know, we might actually come up with a few pairs. We were doing that with marbles and trump cards and stuff. Maybe. Peter McKenna, put your teeth back in. Yeah. As I say, I say one thing wrong, and in my head, it all starts to fall apart. My head is falling apart. Glenn Johnston is here as well. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Glenn. Thank you very much indeed for being here. I have to say, this notion, in some ways, I just think it's incredibly bad taste, but it is very indicative, this idea of a doomsday clock. And for those of you who don't know, and I had to explain this to my wife this morning, so it's fresh in my mind, there is a clock, and depending upon the perceived safety of the world, the minute hand gets closer or further away from striking midnight, and supposedly at midnight, that's it. Game over. The world is at an end. And on this day in 2023, it moved to its highest ever level, 90 seconds before midnight. And I think it crept back a little bit, and now it's back at 90 seconds to midnight. Kind of, what is bizarre, I think, and I know we've got a couple of old stages in the chat. I lived through the 1980s, and we had, obviously there was the constant threat of the Cold War and America and Russia starting to throw nuclear weapons at each other, and that basically influenced our TV, our movies, our music, our fashion, because of that constant threat. If anybody ever wants to listen to an absolutely storming song from the 1980s, Two Tribes by Craic Goes to Hollywood, ideally the extended Annihilation mix. And there you are. There was a song that was about the notion of the end of the world, nuclear holocaust and all that goes with it, and it was called the Annihilation mix. And yet here we are, 40 odd years later, and we're back in the very same predicament. So, World War III, I wouldn't rule it out. And yeah, there used to be a guy, and I realise this is a trope now, a trope of cartoons and stuff, but there genuinely was. If you came out of the tube station at Oxford Circus in London's West End, there was genuinely a guy for years. For all I know, he may still be there. But for years, and I do mean many, many years, because I used to do a lot of my sort of fashion type shopping up that way. You'd come out of the station and there was a guy with a soundboard. The end of the world is nigh. Repent. Repent your sins. The end is nigh. And I remember looking at him and thinking, loon. And yet you see the way some of these politicians act, you think, maybe he had a point. Maybe he was just ahead of his time. Our question of the day was, obviously, I'm going to say good morning to Mark Furness as well, who's just joined us over on Instagram. Question of the day, what do you collect? I'm a Stephen King book fan. Dan Cullen, as we all know, is a hat man. He is the hat man. And a fine collection you have as well. Mick Norton joined us as well. Good morning as well. I said he has a fine collection. How many hats do you reckon Dan Cullen's got? 40? 50? Any takers on 60? No, not even close. 130 hats. Where do you sleep then, Dan? And just how many heads do you have? 130 hats. I think I've got close on 50 or thereabouts. So you've beaten me by a long way. Although I'm a little bit selective, even to the point where I went to an exhibition and I chose to wear a Kinzhofer hat, and it was nice. It's got one of those. It's a baseball cap, but the back is solid. There's no hole or gap or anything like that, and it really was a lovely fit. And I arrived on the Kinzhofer stand, and they said, "That's the old style. You can have a new one." So when I got back, I threw away the old one and replaced it on my wall up there. Replaced it on my wall with a new one. That's how much of an anorak I am. Question of the day, what do you collect? Jim Turner, who must be made of money apparently. He collects guns, prepping for the outbreak of World War III. Guns, tractors and vintage plant and machinery. The vintage plant collection is very small, but it'll grow steadily as and when I have the funds. There's a man that deserves a lottery win, and no mistake. And I put my apologies to Footy. Listen, I realise the limitations of what we have here, even down to the fact that we've got our biggest audience now over on Instagram, and we can't actually include them in the competitions because the software doesn't yet marry. But I do realise it's very small, and if you're dyslexic as well, it's a problem. I'm constantly looking, and I have to say, Footy, I kind of need to do a sideways thank you. I do think about what I do a whole lot more having you in the audience because of the dyslexia, and I'm trying to put more and more of my words through Medium because you can listen as well as read over there. So as I say, thank you for that. Who is head of Caterpillar at the moment? It is Jim Umpleby. I'm fairly sure they actually had a female head not so long ago. I may have imagined that, but I don't think so. But yes, Jim Umpleby, what a responsibility. I mean, I don't know quite what the turnover of JCB Caterpillar is these days. I tell you what, let me have a look. Yes, in the fiscal year of 2022, so year before last, Caterpillar reported a revenue of $59.4 billion. $59.4 billion. Now you know why they are top of the construction equipment tree, but it also explains why Jim Umpleby probably doesn't sleep nights. What a responsibility, but I'm sure he's very, very good at his job. Let's have a look. Peter McKenna says, "Well, I'm a hit. That's twice you said good morning." Actually, it's not. There was another Peter, and I can't actually remember which platform he was on. Another Peter popped into the chat and then popped back out again. So I'll say good morning to him. And I've just realised it has your nickname attached. That wasn't a good idea. I won't do that again. Mick Norton says, I collect old tins. Old tins? Are we talking old food tins? I think we need to know. On that basis, if you are collecting old tins, do you have, Jim, when I can find it, do you have a 1935 American Kruger Brewing Company cream ale tin? Because if you do, that actually came out in 1935. It was the first canned beer. Where would we be without well, I'd be fine. I don't drink beer, but where would we be? Every house party I went to throughout my teenage years would have been ruined had it not been for the American Kruger Company. Who else have we got here? Awesome video. Not sure which one. I think that was the CES one, the Caterpillar one from CES. And if you'd like to know more about CES, go over to YouTube, because I'm fairly sure that Hyundai have released a video, and I think theirs is a bit longer. I think it's about 10 minutes, a bit too long for this show, but they've done one with one of their guys actually talking through some of their tech as well. So go and check that out. Let's have a look. It does look like a great show. As I say, I think we get some genuine value out of it. And what is slightly annoying is I was talking to the guy that handles the PR for Demolition, my old mate Mike Isherwood, while I was in Paris last week. And he was saying that I think there was just one member of the construction equipment press that actually attended CES, and they happened to be based in the States already. So I think we might need to do something about that. Still need to figure out how to fund it, and moreover, how to fund it for my wife, as you can see. But yeah, we'll do what we can. Lots more entries for the competition, but as we all know, Ken Hatcher finally walked away with the prize. So yes, I'll keep you posted on that. In actual fact, something's just occurred to me. I was given a notebook and pen, and I'm fairly sure Fred was given one as well. I may do that again. And I'm also going to say good morning to 10-Star Simulation. 10-Star Simulation over on Instagram. Just to let you know, huge fans of your work, fellas. I've been on a 10-Star Simulator once or twice. I think the first time was at Plantworks a few years ago. Love the 10-Star Simulation work. Anybody ever driven a 10-Star Simulator? If you did, I think you'd remember it, because it's very, very good. Very, very lifelike indeed. Andy Dalvell says, good morning, guys. Sorry I'm late, been busy with a fitter. Slapping him, no doubt. Jim Turner says, I was in the market for a new machine. I wouldn't have anything smaller than 16 tons without a blade. What are your feelings on blades, fellas? Do you use them? And 10-Star Simulation, just to prove that Instagram is a two-way street, 10-Star Simulation just said thanks a lot. Back right at you. Back at you, fellas. Back at you. Yeah, there you are. Do you use blades? Don't forget, some machines have 6-way blades extras. Yes, they do. Peter McKenna says, I need to get to grips with GPS free of charge, hopefully. I can't assure you of free of charge, but I'm fairly sure that somebody like a 10-Star Simulation could possibly get you on a simulator. Probably not free of charge, probably not in Preston, I don't know, but 10-Star Simulation. There's a guy called Peter McKenna who would like to have a go at GPS. Can you make that happen? I wonder if we can do this. Could be the tender of the industry. The Tinder, should I say. Ken Hatcher has no need for blade control. He does it with his eyes, he says. Proper old school, as he often is. Andy Dalvell says that mini digger with the auto blade looks awesome. Really want to have a go on a Kobelco blade runner. I had about 10 minutes on one once. It's awesome machine. You'll like it. Trust me, you really will. Ain't technology brilliant? Brilliant. Yes, it is. And Jim Turner also. Kobelco Europe. I know Peter Stoit often watches this show. If you're watching, Peter, I realise our guys are a little bit out of your remit, but if anybody's watching from Molson, there's at least 2 guys here, possibly more, that would love to have a spin on a blade runner machine. Can you make that happen? Can you? Again, Tinder of the industry. I'm matchmaking for all I'm worth here. Andy Dalvell says, love the little carry wings on the blade. Push so much more. Like the greedy balls on the old dump trucks. You know, thou shalt not exceed 25-ton load capacity. And they've got greedy balls to take it up to 35 tons. Yes, we know how it all works. Dan Cullen says, let's get a GPS day booked. Yeah, do that. Have a word with Leica. I mean, Leica have actually got a demonstration area. I can't remember exactly where it is, but literally in your part of the world, Peter. Literally in your part of the world. And it's in constant use. I've been there, and it's very, very good indeed. They've got machines. They've got the whole GPS setup. Reach out to Leica. Have a word with... what's the guy's name? What is the guy's name? Bear with me for 1 second. Yes, have a word with Neil Williams. I think his job title probably says that he works for Hexagon, but he is a Leica man through and through. Have a word. You'll find him over on LinkedIn. Tell him I've sent you. Now, I did ask a lot of questions about how comfortable you were in the cab, and our 6'1" bearded wonder, Jim Turner, says his feet are on the window. I do remember. Now, bearing in mind, I'm not what you'd call a big guy. I am 5'11", and my feet are size 8. I am bang average. I took a skid steer for a spin. I won't bore you with the details because a long while ago, and I won't name names, but I took a skid steer for a spin. I was in it for about half an hour, and I had to sit with my feet basically like that because the foot pedals were. It was so cramped between the edge of the seat and the front of the machine. I literally had to sit with my feet like that. And after about half an hour, I was getting shooting pains up my calves. Being the kind of guy I am, I went away and I wrote about the fact that it was deeply uncomfortable. That was some advertising that was cancelled pretty damn quick, I can tell you. Let's have a look. Take a look at Take a Lot to Beat the Hydromic, or Hydromic, should I say, Opera Cab. Yeah, it is. It remains the benchmark. And the one thing I do wonder about that, I've seen the video. Obviously, we brought you the video right here on this show, and I've also seen it as a standalone at exhibitions. It was certainly at the last Bauma as a standalone cab module. Not sure I've actually seen the Opera Cab on a machine. Was it a prototype? Has it actually been used? I don't know the answer to that. Chris Ford arrived late, but welcome nonetheless. Dan and Footy both liked, what did they like? The case machine, I think. Mick Norton says, precise levelling to achieve formation level as demonstrated will save a contractor thousands of pounds over a period when laying, say, Type 1 material. You're damn right it will. Yeah, payback in next to no time, I would imagine. Is that true? You know, this is something that I did wonder about a while back, and I'm fairly sure somebody sent me, I think it was on WhatsApp, details of, I think it was a JCB machine that had been basically rendered immovable because something had been stolen off it. I can't remember what it was, and I do wonder if it was something to do with this. Digital screens are fantastic, but people have started to nick them out of machines now. Is there actually a market for those? It's not like you're stealing, you know, a ready-to-go iPad or something like that. Could you reuse that? Could you sell it? Like, are there people down pubs in Preston saying, "Do you want a screen off a Hyundai excavator?" Is that happening? Anybody's got any experience of that? Please let me know. Jim Turner says JCB series, X series rather, have nice cabs. Not enough leg room. Again, I've been in a couple of X series machines. I was absolutely fine, but I'm not a small guy by any means, but I'm not a giant either. And he also says the footrests are too close to the puddles. Too close to the pedals. Lots of machines need this as reach out to touch buttons. Peter McKenna says, I'm 6'6". Imagine how I would feel. And his right foot doesn't bend. Doesn't bend because it's not a real foot. Yes, prosthetic. Which again is a consideration. Where do you put it? You're not going to unscrew your leg just to be comfortable in the machine, I wouldn't have thought. Footy says, I'm 6'2", size 17 shoes. Machines I find far too small. You're a big lad, that's all I can say. Ken Hatcher basically left with the spoils and then buggered off early, but congratulations, Ken. Great name, I think that would be the Graptor. Yeah. Can't see why we don't get thumb buckets in the UK, only abroad. I've never understood it. As I said to the intro to that Graptor piece, when I first played it, whenever that was, maybe a year or so ago, I was expecting lots of Brits to come back and say, "Oh, we don't need thumbs. We use proper attachments over here." And yet everybody went, "Oh, that's a good idea. We should be doing that." So yes. AMI attachments, if you're watching, which you may well be because I did tag you into the show today, there's people over here that would quite like to have a closer look at your Graptor if you feel like coming over. Peter McKenna says that's a good idea. Andy Darvell, I never used a thumb, but that one does look awesome. I totally agree with you. Jim Turner. Now, I look forward to seeing this. Jim Turner is doing a review of the JCB 245 XR. Been on it for the last fortnight, so I can give my full and honest opinion. I look forward to seeing that. I really do. I have to say, I do love those. I've not seen one that you've done, Jim, but that's one I'm an avid viewer of Ollie Gunn's channel. And also Craic over at CSW. Because obviously, because you guys live and breathe it and you're in the machines day in, day out, you get to see stuff. And you know, I came away, I was at the X Series launch. I was one of the first people to see the X Series. Excuse me 1 second. Somebody's trying to phone me. They have no idea what I do for a living. Yes, I was one of the first people to see the JCB X Series because I was at the official launch. But I get to see it in, you know, controlled surroundings. I had about 10 minutes on it, and you know, so I don't really get to experience it in the way that you guys do. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. So please, Jim, put that on video. Put your review on video, and I'll be delighted to feature it right here. Going back to the Graptor, good for removing trees and shrubs. Yep. Wonder if these will take off in the UK. Looks like they could well do, should somebody decide to unveil them. The grease bank is a fantastic idea. 100% agree. Andy Darvell says, I'm sold, I want one. Footy, not so much. Another bit of kit to grease up. Yes, it is true. Peter McKenna, watching the Sennebogen video. I'm sat here drooling. Those cranes are just awesome. Yeah, I tend to get less excited by the cranes, but I get very excited about their demolition machines and most certainly their materials handlers as well. And as I say, that they are all destined for this IFAT show, which is taking place in the not too distant future. I can't actually remember when it was. Was it April or thereabouts? Over in Munich, probably the same place that that Bauma takes place. Don't think I'll be going to that one, but there you are. Well done, Ken. A lucky man hatcher, says Peter McKenna. Chris Ford wants Ken to buy him a lottery ticket or a Euro Millions lottery ticket. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh, for the love of God. Okay, I've killed that phone call again. I did see this the other day. The sex books written for 8-year-olds is the biggest controversy. Is it real? Is it? I've got to be honest with you. I saw the headline and thought, that's not for me at all. So I've not actually been and had a close look. Is it real though, or is it a Daily Mail job? So difficult to tell these days. Where are we? Just trying to find not sure what that's all about. Black Sabbath beat Frankie to it about war. Listen, Edwin Starr, war. What is it good for? Yeah, he would have beaten Black Sabbath, I would have thought. Probably, not entirely sure. But yes, it was. It seems so bizarre now, looking back at. Well, it seems bizarre given the fact that we've now come full circle. But yeah, we used to make jokes about it. There is. Obviously, we had the Spitting Image series with puppets, rubber puppets of our politicians and stuff. And the big joke, or one of the big jokes, was that Ronald Reagan, who at the time was showing early signs of dementia, the fact that he had the nuclear button by the side of his bed. And that was picked up. I don't know if anybody else remembers this. Genesis, the band featuring Phil Collins, my least favourite music artist of all time, they actually did a song called Land of Confusion, in which they were Spitting Image puppets, and Ronald Reagan was in there as well. And yes, he rolled over in the night, if I remember rightly, and in somewhat bit of a confusion, looking for a glass of water, he set off nuclear Armageddon instead. Yeah, we lived through that. That was the 80s. The 80s looked like war could happen, nuclear war could happen at any moment. We came out the other end, we had things can only get better in the 90s, and guess what? We've gone full circle. Chris Ford says, a question of the day, 1 in 32 modern tractors must be articulated wheel or track. I think I have about 50 of them. Very specific. I'll tell you now, there is a guy, I think he keeps his hand in. I don't think he's actually full-time employed these days. But there is a guy who has been writing about plant even longer than I am, a guy called Nick Johnson. Used to be on Plant Manager's Journal, but my company bought it and didn't bring him over. So he started a thing called Plant Hire Executive many, many moons ago. Very, very famous within the industry. And he is an avid collector. I can't remember what scale he insists on, but I've actually been at events where somebody has handed them a model, he's checked the scale, and if it's not to the scale that his collection is, hands it back. You are. Could you imagine if World War III took off, all the youngsters running to their screens and crying mental health? I think I might be with them, to be perfectly honest. Dan says, I also have a collection of limited edition down coats. Oldest one I have is 25 years old, matching bottoms, worth about 3,000 quid, among 100 others. Wow. How much space have you got? And he also has 6 French brands, unheard of here, sought after vintage coats. Let's see, I've actually got, it's not in the house actually, it's in a lockup at the moment. I did actually buy myself a frock coat once. That was old. It was about 80 years old when I bought it. At the time, I looked very good in it. Not so sure if I could pull it off these days. Now, there's a thought. Do a GoFundMe page. Easy way of getting funds for a holiday. Well, maybe. It's not. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it as a holiday. I would be going to work. My wife, however, would definitely be doing it as a holiday. Footy says, if I can use GPS Peter, so can you. Peter McKenna says, Ken, how do you keep your eyes clean? He doesn't need a blade. He uses his eyes. Good question. Let's have a look. Peter McKenna says, like I have an app. That's great, but I need to get to grips with the real thing. Drop them a line. That's all you can say. There you are. Chris Ford knows his stuff. Nick Johnson out of controls. And I did actually mention this as a notion to Nick Drew some time ago. For those of you that don't know, our friend Nick Johnson used to do a column in Plant Hire Executive, or PHE as it was known in the trade, called Nick Johnson at the Controls. And he would basically take a new machine, just freshly launched, and he would go and take it out for a day, or sometimes even longer than that, and he would do a full-on review. Now, Nick was actually, I'm trying to remember the name of the company he worked with. He may have been with Langs or somebody like that. I can't actually remember, but he was the real deal. He was a journalist second, but he was a plant man first and foremost. Imagine if I would guess he's probably late 60s, early 70s now, so a bit past the ideal time. But imagine if you could transfer Nick Johnson at the controls into the video age. And as I say, I mentioned it to Nick Drew. Actually do an agreement with the companies, get a machine, take it out for a day, never mind advertising, never mind all of that nonsense. Just take the machine, go and operate it for a day, and then come back and do a proper in-depth report on it, complete with video. I think that would be an absolute winner, but there you are. Scitech have days too. Yes, I'm sure they do. Scitech, I think that's kind of off to one side of Finning these days. So Stafford, that sort of way, if that's what you're into. Chris Ford, I once had a pop-up version of the Kama Sutra. Yes. Does the pop-up not work anymore, Chris? Do you have to give it a little blue pill? I don't want to. I'll wait around for the answer. Jim Turner says, I don't think my machine review will be video, just a short bit of text of the pros and cons. Look forward to reading it. Please make sure you loop me in. I'd be very, very interested in seeing that. As I say, I tend to look at machines, and in some ways, I get to see machines at all the wrong time. And I understand, everyone wants to know about what's new and sexy and exciting and everything else. But I see it when it's kind of an unproven force, like the X series. Am I expecting JCB to launch a series of excavators that are bad? Of course I'm not. Of course I'm not. I've got every faith that the X series is, by and large, very, very, very good indeed. But you don't know how very, very, very good it is until it's been out with actual operators in actual working conditions, up to its gunnels in mud and crap and everything else. That's when you start to see what the machine is really about. So Jim, make sure you loop me into that. It'll be make a nice change. The relationship as it stands at the moment is that I produce the words and throw them out, and you receive. It'd be lovely to get something going back the other way. So keep me in the post on that. I'll tag you in the LinkedIn post if you want. Please do that. Please do that. Dan Cullen is heading back to work, and he says, "Have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe and be cautious." Yes, there's a philosophy to live by. We've been going for an hour and 17 minutes, and bizarrely, although I was told that the limit over on Instagram was an hour, they're still watching, as are you. So I'm going to call it a day. We'll be back here again tomorrow, and as I say, I'll put that one up for grabs tomorrow. If anybody would like to own that, can you see that nice and clear? Yep, that will be up for grabs tomorrow. I'll come up with some Komatsu related question for you. So yes, please tune in and I'll give that to somebody. Gary Muirhead just crept in under the wire, says MOBA used to have a mobile GPS simulator. There are a few mobile simulators, but I tend to be more akin to the demolition simulators. I know the NFDC have got one, and I know AR Demolition run one as well, but they are demolition and tend to be high reach focused. Not sure about the situation, but if 10-star simulation are still watching, please let me know if you have any days coming up, if you have any events coming up where our guys can actually get along and have a look. When you're my age, youth is a distant memory. One old boy who used to say he'd rather have avkeet, potato pie. Not sure what that is. And the final question of the day, I'm going to make this the final question of the day. Where is Nick, Drew and Peter these days? Not spoken to Nick in quite some time, but Peter was in fine form over in Paris just last week. If you are a LinkedIn type person, go and have a look, because we are taking a more long-term view of our video. There we are. He would rather have a meat and potato pie, not avkeet. Meat, says Chris Full. Yeah, we're taking a bit of a longer term view of our video content from last week's press event over in Paris. But Peter was actually churning out video there and then. We've got one coming up. It'll probably be the first one that we bring you, actually. We did an interview with one of the director of Intermat 2024, ex-JCB guy. I'll bring you a bit of it here on this show, but the full thing is going to be about 15 minutes long. We had a proper old chinwag about the show and the market and everything else. So I'll be sharing that with you at some point in the not too distant future. All that being said, it is time to go away and do something more practical with my time. Go and play around with Apple reminders, probably, because that's how sad my life is. I'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Hope you will too. In the meantime, everybody have a fantastic day. Look after yourself, and I'll see you very soon. And off to the post office to get Ken his notepad. See you all very, very soon indeed. All the best.